Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Tony of Comic Conversations, the podcast that reviews more comics than anybody else. You can check out my show at halfguard.com. With that out of the way, let's go into why we're here today. We're here to talk Dan Abnett's 2008 Guardians of the Galaxy run. I'm covering the first 6 issues, otherwise known as Legacy. Alright, let's go straight into the book. Book opens up with a debrief log of Peter Quill. Think the Office's confessional scenes. Peter says that it didn't go so badly. Cut to a member of the Universal Church screaming at the Guardians. Star-Lord, Drax, Gamora, Rocket, Adam Warlock, and the new Quasar. Adam Warlock can feel another distortion opening up. Turns out there are incorrections that are popping up all over the space-time continuum. Star-Lord tells his fellow Guardians they're there to stop a fissure from blowing up and unleashing hell. Cut to 2 weeks ago, we see Peter, Quasar, Warlock, and Richard Rider, aka Nova, talking about the fallout from Annihilus and the Phalanx Wars. Talking about that there should be a peacekeeping force that'll deal with the next one before it happens. They talk about drafting Gamora and Drax, even though there's some reservations because the two of them are well-known assassins. We then go to present day with the Guardians attempting to come up with a name. Rocket suggests Ass Kickers of the Fantastic, or Rocket Raccoon and his human hangers-on. Drax suggests Drax and his coonskin hat to Rocket. Yet another scene of the events that led to the present-day battle. Peter attempts to recruit Rocket and a tiny potted plant version of Groot. Peter says that Rocket has one of the best tactical minds ever. Peter feels bad about the whole Phalanx thing because he's the one that let them in. Rocket agrees to only join the team if Peter stops beating himself up. Adam feels the disruption coming from the Church of Universal Truth's face generators. The Church is none too pleased about the Guardians showing up. We cut to 3 days ago, Quasar attempting to recruit Drax. With Thanos and his daughter now dead, he feels he no longer has a purpose to live. Again to present day, while on their next planet to conquer, the Universal Church is running headlong into another fissure. 4 days ago, we see Richard Rider attempting to recruit Gamora to the team. It's obvious that Gamora and Rider have a history, but Richard's there as a recruiter because Gamora hates killing. But with the Phalanx gone, she too feels an emptiness in her life. Gamora agrees to talk to Peter. Adam isn't much worried about the damage the fissure would have on space and the surrounding planets, but the horrors that would come out of the fissures. The fears are realized that the Guardians are met by a giant tentacle monster. Rocket throws a grenade at the monster. Quasar is able to keep the blast damage limited to mainly the monster, but the ship takes a bit of a hit. The annihilation wave was so catastrophic it created fissures throughout the universe. Adam tells the group he feels it's their responsibility to make sure whatever monsters that tried to make their way out don't. A member of the Universal Church of Truth reports the attack to the Matriarch on the homeworld of the church, Sacrosanct. It's then that we're shown the Guardians' home base, Nowhere, an international crosswords of sorts, where they decide to shut up shop. We see the team's supporting staff. Cosmo, a telekinetic and telepathic dog from the Soviet space program. Cosmo and Rocket are not particularly fond of each other. Mantis is also a telepath. She's able to peek inside the minds of the Guardians as well as the future. She tells us in 24 hours that the team will agree on the name of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but feels it would abuse her powers if she told them this now. She also refuses to tell them in 9 months one of the members will turn on the team. Able to see the future is quite the burden for Mantis. Adam is able to sense another fissure and the Guardians get ready to return to the battlefield. Their next mission would be a frozen chunk of space with what appears to be a person with Captain America's shield. End of issue 1. Issue 2. Adam Warlock warns the team that their next mission will involve a region where space-time is falling apart. As Cosmo wishes the Guardians luck on their next mission, he hopes one day join the Guardians out in the field. Rocket tells him he's creeped out by talking pets. Adam tells the teams there seems to be something that is aggravating the space-time continuum. Drax deduces that the mass they're standing on is literally frozen time. Quasar attempts to thaw out the frozen time. The team talks to Mantis, but she again tells the team that she cannot tell them what it is. The front gate of Avengers Mansion is thawed out of the ice. But man-eating space worms are awoken. They make their way to the Guardians. In the fight, Cap's shield is shown being thrown across the ice. Something catches the shield. It's major victory of the Guardians of the Galaxy. He asks, when is he? The Guardians, realizing they're outnumbered, decide to leave. We're then again showed the Universal Church's homeworld and Matriarch. She commands her followers to investigate the Guardians. The Guardians have successfully contained another anomaly. They don't know what to make of the guy, but the shield is clearly Cap's. Peter starts to see the parallels between themselves and the Avengers. While attempting to build the team, they find Cap's shield frozen in ice. Major Victory's team named the Guardians of the Galaxy has a ring to it, says Rocket. Victory asks an examining Mantis when they are. She tells them 2008. Victory is relieved to be in the right time. The Guardians make their way to the next mission. A sun enclosed an artificial shell. The Guardians are shocked to discover that the research facility has been abandoned. It's then that they're met by the Cardinals of the Universal Church. They tell the Guardians to bow down and surrender. Adam Warlock is having none of it, and the battle begins. End of Issue 2. Issue 3. The Cardinals are some of the Universal Church's strongest warriors. They are powered by the collective faith of the Church, making them quite powerful. Gamora imagined the Church is none too pleased about the Guardians wrecking one of their ships and several of their faith batteries. Peter tries to explain to the head Guardian that they're there to save the 5,200 people on the research facility. The Cardinal could care less about those lives. Rocket asks if there's supposed to be earthquakes on the facility. We cut to Mantis and Victory on Nowhere. Victory is quite amused by Groot. Mantis tells him that he was badly hurt and reduced to potted plant size. Groot tries to warn the two about the impending attack. He is unsuccessful as they're both attacked by a being of energy. Even with her ability to peek into the future, the intruder caught her by surprise. He is from a future that she cannot read. Victory recognizes the intruder as Starhawk, but doesn't know how he's able to identify him. A giant green cloud of skulls attacked the Cardinals and the Guardians. The cloud is the biomass of all the residents of the lab. Their work had opened up a fissure that turned them into a giant biomass monster. Star-Lord asks how to put them together. Adam tells him it's too late. In the confusion with the biomass, the head Cardinal stabs Adam Warlock in the back. The Universal Church of Truth have accomplished their mission. Just as quickly as Starhawk showed up, he mysteriously vanished after a short battle with Major Victory. Out of options, Peter decides to lift the safety barrier from the sun to destroy the biomass as the only option. All the inhabitants of the facility are already dead. The Guardians' plan was to transport out of there as soon as things started to get heated, but for whatever reason why, their transport bracelets refused to work. The only option now is to turn the safety shielding back on, but Quasar only has enough power to shield one Guardian back to the controls. Seeing how Gamora was the only one with a healing factor, she takes it upon herself to be the one suited for the job. Gamora reactivates the shield, but is nearly burned alive in the process. She'll be fine, but for the time being, she resembles a burn victim. Back on the Universal Church's homeworld, the lead Cardinal meets with the matriarch and tells her he can crush the Guardians with a few more men. She tells him they've already accomplished their mission. While stabbing Warlock, they were able to obtain DNA samples from Adam. The results check out. It's Adam Warlock, alright, but only leaves the question, who is in the cocoon they have attained? End of Issue 3. Issue 4. The Guardians of Major Victory watch the video of Victory fighting with Starhawk. He has no idea why he knew the name or why he chose to attack him. The Guardians figured Starhawk used the quantum cortex as a means of making his way into Nowhere. As the Guardians go to inspect it, Mantis warns them not to get any closer. The cortex explodes. The Guardians assess the damage. 38 dead, 15 critical. Among the dead are a couple of shape-shifting Skrulls. Only problem, they weren't supposed to be part of the crew. Rocket says these probably aren't the only ones. They are undetectable by any available means. The Guardians start turning on each other. Rocket said he's always felt uncomfortable with Cosmo. He feels like he's going to chase him up his tree at any given moment. Maybe he's a Skrull. Gamora admits they barely know each other. The team was thrown together so fast. She barely knows any of her other team members, even though Peter brings up the fact that they've known each other for years. Quasar says that's exactly what the Skrull would want them to do, doubt themselves. Gamora exposes her burnt bodies, saying she hasn't proven enough to the team. Adam says no one is doubting anyone. This is what Skrulls do. Peter puts the entire facility on lockdown. It's then that Gorani and his deputy Sinshirk show up. They represent Nowhere's administrative council. Nowhere is a scientific community, and they don't recall letting the Guardians set up shop there, or even agreeing that they let them call the shots. Furthermore, they don't remember signing up for all these sabotages, battles, and death. They don't much care for their facilities being used by a paramilitary force. Cosmo vouches for them. Cosmo is supposed to be head of security and above all else be neutral. Peter agrees to an investigation, but this does not sit well with Adam. Peter says they're a part of their society, but Adam argues that when this team was being put together, that they were supposed to answer to no one. Major Victory is walking the streets of Nowhere when he's confronted by a bunch of local who had heard of his battles and the possible Skrull invasion. They're none too happy. Victory defends himself with his shield. It's then that the deputy comes to break up the fight. She goes straight for Victory. And as she's about to lay into Victory, Peter stops her. Cosmo shows up and says he's responsible for breaking up fights. The deputy and Peter both apologize to Cosmo. Rocket again voices his disdain for Cosmo. Anthropomorphic freak. The irony is lost again on Rocket. Panda Starhawk, who is watching in the rafters. Adam again says they should be out there looking for more fissures and not be subject to an investigation. Mantis talks to Peter about the fact that Cortex is leader radiation and could kill them all. Mantis says if they agree to an investigation, they'll find out the truth about the team. Peter says that he had to do it. He couldn't wait. He had to tamper with their minds. We see Drax eavesdropping on the conversations. It's bad enough there might be a scroll on their ranks, Peter says. During the investigation, they come upon some security footage of Drax repeatedly visiting the Cortex, unauthorized and unlogged. Cosmo brings up that both he and Quasar had seen this. Peter asks Gamora to get Drax, but he's nowhere to be seen. We've seen that Drax has gone off to the weaponry, and he's got a rifle in his hand. End of issue 4. Issue 5. The Council is none too pleased about Drax going missing. We see Drax making quick work of the task force sent to look for him. Peter agrees to stay put while the investigation continues. They play by house rules. The Cortex leak has been taken care of. Quasar talks to Gamora and she encourages Quasar to go out and seek Drax, ignoring Peter and the Nowhere Council. Quasar finds Drax and is able to sneak up on him thanks to her bands. Drax denies being a Skrull. She asks what he's been up to. Peter confronts Gamora about letting Quasar go off and go find Drax. Mantis has an attack. Something will or has happened. A female Starhawk then shows up. She states that it is far too early for the Guardians of the Galaxy and Major Victory. Smells of a dead universe, she says. She states how the future is in flux. She keeps changing. Male, female, neither, both, alive, dead. She says that the drastic changes must be made to preserve the future, as she goes after Major Victory. She says she is sorry for having to destroy them and Nowhere. It's then that we're shown Cosmo talking to some shadowy figures. Adam confronts him. Cosmo is talking to a group of Skrulls. Cosmo tries to calm him down. He doesn't know all the facts just yet. The two fight. Drax says the only way to expose the Skrulls is to kill them. They turn back to Skrull form after death. Drax says he'll kill everybody and it's the only way. Drax puts on a helmet and presses a button. End of issue 5. Issue 6. Everyone is shown. Collapse. Dead. Drax comes to. Presses the button again. Quasar wakes up and an angry Quasar attacks Drax. She asks what has he done. Drax replies, found the Skrulls. He shows her a radar of sorts. Everyone wakes up. The Guardians knock out Starhawk again. As Drax goes off to find the Skrulls, he explains to Quasar why he went to the Cortex. He used the Cortex to find a kid named Cammy. She's been missing since the war with the Nihilists. He lost his daughter and he's not about to lose another kid. The people of Nowhere says he could have just told them that from the beginning. Drax confronts Adam and Cosmo about the Skrulls. Cosmo has explained to Warlock. Quasar stops Drax. Cosmo uses his psychic powers to explain to Drax and Quasar. These Skrulls are refugees. There's a war coming, but they don't want any part of it. Cosmo agrees to have his mind wiped clean every time he helps the Skrulls use the Cortex to get their way to freedom because he doesn't want to be a liability and have to lie to people about the Skrulls. An opposing Super Skrull was found for the Cortex being destroyed. They tell them that the Skrulls are planning an invasion of Earth. The Nowhere Task Force and the rest of the Guardians are then added to the mix. A fight breaks out. Cosmo again breaks up the fighting. Peter says going forward that the Guardians are here to stay and they don't answer to anyone on Nowhere. After which this team is shown none too pleased. Drax has told them the entire story about Mantis' psychic influence to put the team together. Peter defends the decision. Something needed to be done. The universe was coming apart. The team disagrees and loses all faith in Peter. The rest of the team agrees to break up. Mantis says nothing is going according to her predictions. We are shown Starhawk in captivity again. She's a he again. He says that the future is wrong and something needs to be changed. Something radical. They are headed towards a future that doesn't belong to them. End of issue 6 and end of the first volume of Dan Abnett's 2008 run of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Thanks again for checking out my video. As always, stay tuned to youtube.com/Comic Conversations. Expect more videos in the future. And as always, don't be a stranger to check out my podcast, Comic Conversations, the podcast that reviews more comics than anybody else at halfguard.com. Alright, thanks again, and as always, adios.